Imagine for a moment that every difficulty you have faced was not a coincidence but a divine calling to something much greater. These are not merely the ordinary challenges of life, but a kind of sacred training designed to shape you in an extraordinary way. For the chosen ones, nothing happens by chance. Every encounter, every disappointment, and even every confrontation with people who seem to drain your energy has a hidden purpose. Among these encounters, there is one that, although painful, is one of the most transformative: the impact of a narcissist on your journey. These individuals, with their toxic magnetism and ability to manipulate situations, might seem like mere agents of chaos. But what if I told you that, more often than not, God uses these interactions to awaken hidden strengths within you? The narcissist, with their uncanny ability to touch precisely your vulnerabilities, does not show up to destroy you but to expose what still needs healing. They act as a dark mirror reflecting what lies beneath the surface, forcing you to uncover a new level of resilience and wisdom. Have you noticed that the most challenging moments in your life are also the ones that have brought the greatest lessons? Now, if you are going through such an experience, pay attention. There are clear signs that God is working in your life through this seemingly destructive interaction. Signs that reveal that this is far from being a punishment, it is a tool for growth. What is happening to you is not by chance, but part of a greater plan to transform your essence and prepare you for a divine purpose. If you dare to discover how these experiences are shaping you for something extraordinary, stay with me, because the next moments may radically change the way you understand your life and your mission. The first sign that God is using a narcissist to strengthen your life is the lack of external validation. This is one of the most challenging tests a chosen one can face, especially in the presence of a narcissist. These individuals seem incapable of offering genuine recognition or emotional support. However, this lack of validation, though painful, is a divine tool to teach you to look within yourself for strength and approval. It is in the void left by the absence of external acknowledgement that God plants the seed of emotional self-sufficiency, inviting you to build your identity in a solid and unshakable way. Being ignored or dismissed by the narcissist may feel like a cruel punishment, but in truth, it is a sacred lesson. It forces you to question why the approval of others carries so much weight in your life. In His infinite wisdom, God allows this experience to teach you that the only validation that matters is His and the one you find within yourself. It is a process that transforms pain into power, loneliness into divine connection, and rejection into self-acceptance. It is like a refining fire that burns away the need to please others, revealing your true essence. When you stop depending on praise or applause, a new level of freedom emerges. It is not easy, but it is liberating. External validation is like a sweet perfume. It can attract, but it never sustains. In that moment, you begin to understand that, in the divine plan, strength comes from recognizing that your worth was never tied to another human being's words. God wants you to know that your identity is not bound to the acceptance of others but to the fact that you were chosen for something greater. This journey of emotional independence is one of the greatest blessings a chosen one can receive. It teaches you that even without the applause of those around you, you are still worthy, loved, and capable. God works in your heart to eliminate the desperate desire for human validation, replacing it with an unshakable confidence in what He says about you. When human approval ceases, God's voice becomes more audible, and it is in that voice that you find the strength to move forward. In this process, every indifferent look or word of disdain becomes an invitation for you to lean on divine grace. The Bible is full of examples of people who were ignored or underestimated but used that rejection as a springboard to something greater. Joseph was forgotten in prison before becoming a governor. David was disregarded by his own brothers before facing Goliath. Like them, you too can transform the lack of validation into fuel for your divine mission. Over time, you realize that seeking validation in God and within yourself creates a foundation so solid that no criticism or contempt can shake it. It is like building your house on the rock instead of the sand. While the narcissist tries to take something from you, God is adding, strengthening, and shaping you. Every moment of silence or rejection is, in fact, an opportunity to draw closer to the purpose for which you were chosen. When you finally understand that your identity is defined by the Creator and not by others' opinions, something powerful happens. You become unshakable, untouchable, and deeply connected to your calling. This new emotional and spiritual foundation is the key to fully living as a chosen one. The second sign is questioning your faith. This may be one of the most intense and transformative processes a chosen one faces. Narcissists, with their ability to distort narratives and manipulate emotions, often provoke deep doubts in those around them. They are like storms that sweep away superficial certainties, exposing vulnerabilities and forcing you to examine your deepest beliefs. However, far from being a sign of spiritual weakness, this questioning is actually a divine opportunity. God uses these situations to dismantle a limited view of faith, inviting you to dive deeper into your relationship with Him. It is common for many of us to grow up with an inherited faith, built on fragile foundations like family traditions or superficial religious practices. But when confronted by challenges that shake these structures, we are forced to examine what we truly believe. The narcissist plays a crucial role in this process. Their actions and words, often laced with manipulation, can lead you to question divine justice or even the presence of God. It is at this point of pain and doubt that faith is refined. Like gold purified in fire, your spirituality is polished to reach a new level of depth and authenticity. This questioning may seem like a crisis, but it is actually an invitation. God allows you to feel the gap between theoretical faith and lived faith so that you seek answers directly in Him. It is a transition from relying on a passive understanding of God to developing an active, grounded, and practical faith. It is as if God is removing spiritual crutches so you can learn to walk firmly. In this journey, the scriptures, which were once just words, begin to come alive and become guides. Each page studied, each prayer whispered in despair, strengthens your relationship with the Creator. Throughout this process, you realize that questioning does not signify a lack of faith, but rather a desire to build something genuine. Questions like why does God allow suffering, or how does He act amidst pain, cease to be signs of doubt and transform into milestones of spiritual growth. These questions lead you to seek answers not in conventions or dogmas but in God's very essence. You begin to understand that faith is not a rigid system of beliefs but a living, dynamic relationship. This understanding brings a sense of freedom and authenticity that few attain. Furthermore, questioning your faith becomes an opportunity to discover the strength within yourself. When everything around you seems to crumble, and even those you trusted fail, you find solace in your direct connection with God. It is in this space of solitude and seeking that true faith flourishes. The presence of a narcissist intensifies this search, forcing you to confront the world's complexity and realize that genuine faith is not based on favorable circumstances but on the certainty of divine purpose. This process also challenges you to look beyond easy answers and explore the depth of Scripture and prayer. Many chosen ones find strength in biblical stories of questioning, such as Job, who faced devastating losses and still found God amid suffering. Like Job, you come to understand that God not only tolerates your questioning but welcomes it. He knows that the pursuit of truth is a sign of spiritual maturity, not weakness. As you emerge from this process, your faith is no longer just a belief but a conviction. You discover that, contrary to what many think, questioning does not destroy faith, it strengthens it. It turns doubt into clarity, pain into purpose, and uncertainties into an unshakable trust in the divine plan. This renewed faith prepares you to face the next challenge, learning to trust again, even after the wounds caused by losing trust in others. Before we continue, if you have always felt different, with a special sensitivity or drawn to greater missions, our ebook is a valuable resource for you. It offers practical insights to help you recognize your true mission as a chosen one and overcome challenges of misunderstanding and isolation. By acquiring the ebook, you also gain immediate and exclusive access to our Discord community, a space where you can share your experiences, connect with others who understand what you're going through, and find genuine support in a welcoming environment. Check the first pinned comment here on the video to gain access to this unique and exclusive opportunity. The loss of trust in others is the third sign. For the chosen ones, this experience goes beyond emotional pain, it carries a divine purpose. The distrust that arises after interactions with narcissists is not merely a consequence but a means God uses to shape your discernment and strengthen your reliance on Him. When the foundations of human relationships seem to collapse, it is at that moment that God reveals Himself as the unshakable rock, calling you to build your spiritual security on Him. The betrayal or manipulation of a narcissist can leave you feeling empty, as if the ground has been pulled out from beneath your feet. This vulnerability may make you question the goodness in people and even the reason for trusting them. However, this pain is like a divine lesson embedded within the chaos. The Bible reminds us that even Jesus did not fully entrust Himself to men because He knew human nature. In the same way, God uses these experiences to teach you the value of discerning whom to trust, directing you to seek support first and foremost in Him. When you lose trust in others, it may initially feel like a punishment, but it is actually a redirection. God is removing your excessive dependence on people to strengthen your connection with Him. It is in this moment that you realize true security comes from a divine source and not from human promises, which are often broken. This transition, while difficult, is essential for spiritual growth. Every disappointment becomes an opportunity to turn your eyes back to the Creator and depend solely on His grace and wisdom. Moreover, this loss of trust can help you develop a new layer of wisdom and emotional autonomy. You learn not to trust blindly but to carefully discern the hearts and intentions of those around you. It is like a spiritual filter God is perfecting in you so that your choices and alliances are made based on truth, not illusions. This skill of discernment is not just a defense mechanism but a gift that enables you to navigate the world with greater clarity and purpose. Over time, you discover that this initial distrust, which once seemed like a burden, begins to work in your favor. It teaches you to prioritize your energy, value genuine relationships, and sever ties with those who drain your peace. God uses this phase to teach that it is not about building walls but healthy boundaries. The trust lost in others is, in reality, a call to place your trust in Him, for He never fails, never manipulates, and never leaves you unsupported. The chosen ones, like David, learn to trust selectively. David knew his greatest challenges would not come only from declared enemies but also from those closest to him, like Saul. Still, he kept his faith in God and carefully discerned how to deal with those around him. Similarly, you are called to develop this wisdom, to trust, but trust with understanding, to love, but love with boundaries, to forgive, but not allow abuses to repeat. This journey of learning to trust again, but with wisdom, prepares you for something far greater. You become emotionally independent, spiritually strengthened, and capable of discerning people's hearts with a clarity you never had before. This transformation not only protects you from future manipulations but also makes you a channel of light for those seeking true relationships. The fourth sign that God is using a narcissist to strengthen your life is feeling abandoned. Few feelings are as devastating as the sense that God has completely distanced Himself from you. For the chosen ones, these moments of spiritual abandonment are particularly challenging, as they touch the core of their faith. It is like walking through an endless desert where no prayer seems to be heard, and the silence of heaven echoes deafeningly. Yet what seems like divine absence is actually a spiritual strategy. God uses these moments to test, strengthen, and purify your faith, allowing you to discover a deeper connection with Him than you ever imagined. When you feel abandoned, it's natural for your mind to search for explanations. Did I do something wrong, or why would God leave me alone at this moment, are questions that inevitably arise. This state of desolation may seem cruel, but there is a greater purpose at play. God knows that it is precisely in the darkness that you learn to depend entirely on Him. The Bible gives us the example of Jesus on the cross, crying out, "Father, why have you forsaken me?" That moment of apparent separation was necessary to fulfill the divine purpose, and the same happens in your life. God's silence is not disregard, it is a call for you to seek His presence with greater intensity. These moments of spiritual emptiness are like a dark night of the soul, where you are challenged to face yourself and your deepest beliefs. It is a painful but transformative process that forces you to let go of a superficial faith and build an unshakable trust in God. Like an athlete training at the edge of their capacity to develop endurance, you are placed in a space of silence and solitude to strengthen your spirituality. What was once a relationship based on emotion transforms into a firm and conscious alliance. As you journey through this experience, you realize that abandonment is merely an illusion. God never left you, He only stepped back so you could grow. It's like a parent who, out of love, allows their child to stumble in order to learn how to walk. This temporary withdrawal is not a sign that God has given up on you but a testament to His trust in your ability to endure and grow. He wants you to recognize that His light is always present, even when everything seems engulfed in darkness. Spiritual darkness also teaches you to value God's presence in a way that would never be possible during times of comfort. When the light finally returns, it feels more intense, more real, and more transformative. It is in this contrast between darkness and light that you understand the depth of divine love and the grace that sustains you. These moments of divine silence are not punishments but invitations to experience the fullness of God's presence in a renewed and powerful way. As you walk through this dark valley, an unexpected strength begins to emerge within you. Every seemingly unanswered prayer, every tear shed in solitude, becomes fuel for your faith. You discover that you can trust God even when you don't feel His presence because your faith is no longer dependent on emotions but on unshakable conviction. It is in this silent strength that you find the ability to keep going, even when everything around you seems to be against you. When you finally emerge from this period, you realize that the feeling of abandonment was actually preparation. You were being shaped to depend less on the world and more on God. This experience equips you with a faith that is resilient, a confidence that cannot be shaken, and a clarity about God's divine purpose for your life. The fifth sign is when you learn to set boundaries in your life. Learning to set boundaries is one of the greatest gifts a chosen one can receive, though this lesson often comes wrapped in pain. Interacting with narcissists is like enduring an endless storm. They constantly test your barriers, push your limits, and challenge your patience. As exhausting as this dynamic may be, God uses it to teach you something essential: the value of protecting your energy, your peace, and your purpose. Establishing boundaries is not just an act of self-protection but an exercise in self-worth that aligns you with God's vision for your life. Narcissists have a peculiar talent for overstepping boundaries, whether emotional, psychological, or even spiritual. They exploit your goodwill, invade your space, and make you question your worth. However, these encounters, seemingly destructive, are like refining tools. God allows them so you can learn to identify where others end and you begin. Setting boundaries is like drawing a spiritual map of who you are, protecting what God has entrusted to you, and recognizing that your time and energy are too valuable to be wasted. Establishing boundaries is not easy, especially for those whose hearts are inclined to care for others. It's natural to want to help, to give, and to show compassion, but the chosen ones learn that true love is not permissive. Allowing others to continuously cross your boundaries is not love, it's neglecting the divine purpose God has planted in you. This is why setting boundaries is not just an act of resistance but also obedience to God. He has called you to be a light, but that light cannot shine fully if it is constantly being dimmed by abuse and manipulation. When you begin to say no to what is not aligned with God's purpose, something powerful happens. You realize that you're not losing anything by protecting your space but gaining clarity and strength. Each time you establish a healthy boundary, you're telling the world, and yourself, that you recognize your worth. God uses this dynamic to teach emotional discipline, helping you distinguish between what is essential and what is a distraction. The narcissist, with their persistence in testing these boundaries, becomes an unwitting teacher, forcing you to grow in self-awareness and courage. Setting boundaries also teaches that true love, the kind exemplified by God, is firm and wise. Just as a shepherd carefully guides their sheep but never allows them to wander into danger, you learn to care for yourself without sacrificing your dignity. These boundaries not only protect your peace but also reflect the kind of unconditional and wise love that God wants you to practice. Loving others does not mean allowing them to mistreat you, it means treating them with respect while expecting the same in return. Over time, you realize that these boundaries do not push away the people who truly matter, they draw them closer. Those who respect your essence and recognize your value flourish within these boundaries, while those who only sought to take advantage eventually drift away. It's like a protected garden. The fences keep predators out, allowing what is precious to grow safely. God uses this experience to teach you that protecting your peace is protecting His purpose in your life. When you finally master this art, narcissists lose their power over you. Their attempts at manipulation become ineffective, and your energy is directed toward what truly matters. You not only survive the chaos but emerge stronger, with unshakable clarity about who you are and where you're going. Setting boundaries is an act of faith and self-love that prepares you for the next stage, transformation through prayer, a process that refines your character and draws you even closer to God's purpose. The sixth sign is the prayer for transformation. Praying for transformation is a powerful yet often underestimated act. When you, as a chosen one, ask God to mold you into the image of His will, you are essentially surrendering your life to the process of divine refinement. It is a dangerous prayer because it implies accepting intense challenges, confronting your own limits, and often walking through periods of darkness before reaching the light. God does not answer this prayer solely with blessings. He allows you to face trials that reveal your inner strength and strip away everything that does not serve your purpose. One of the most challenging methods God uses to answer this prayer is allowing you to interact with difficult people, such as narcissists. These individuals act as instruments that test your patience, humility, and ability to forgive. Facing their manipulations and abuses may feel like an unbearable weight, but in reality, it is a refining fire. God uses these encounters to expose hidden weaknesses and work on areas of your life that need strengthening. It is like a sculptor removing imperfections from the stone to reveal the masterpiece that has always been there. Praying for transformation often means walking through a spiritual desert. During this process, you may feel isolated, misunderstood, or even question your decision to surrender to God's plan. But it is in these moments of solitude and pain that the deepest work is done. Just as gold is purified by fire, you too are shaped by circumstances that seem most adverse. Every difficulty draws you closer to God and helps you understand that transformation happens not from the outside in but from the inside out. This process of transformation also requires unwavering faith. When the answers to your prayers seem distant and the challenges pile up, you are forced to trust in God's timing and wisdom. The Bible teaches us that God is like a potter, shaping the clay with patience and care. Every pressure, every strike, is necessary to create something strong and beautiful. By accepting challenges as part of this process, you begin to see prayer for transformation not as a request for ease but as an invitation to grow and mature spiritually. As you move through this refinement, you realize that the trials are not random but carefully orchestrated. God allows you to face situations that demand courage, compassion, and wisdom, preparing you for something greater. Interaction with narcissists, for example, teaches resilience and discernment. Every prayer offered during this period of trial is like a seed planted, which may not bear fruit immediately but will, in due time, produce something extraordinary. Transformation, however, is not only a personal benefit, it impacts everyone around you. Emerging from this process stronger and more aligned with God's purpose, you become a source of inspiration and strength for others. Your journey of overcoming and renewal is a living testimony of God's power in action. People begin to notice the change in you, not just in your words but in your presence. You become a reflection of divine grace, showing that true transformation is possible. When you look back and see everything you have endured, you realize that the prayer for transformation was the turning point in your life. The pain and difficulties did not disappear but lost their power to control you. You become someone who not only survives the storms but emerges from them strengthened and renewed. This process prepares you for an even higher level of love and understanding, where you learn to love unconditionally but with wisdom, a lesson we will explore in the final sign. Loving unconditionally is undoubtedly one of the most powerful marks of a chosen one, but loving with wisdom is the balance God desires you to achieve. For those who interact with narcissists, unconditional love is constantly tested. These individuals, with their egocentric and often abusive behavior, challenge your patience and compassion. God allows these encounters to teach a vital lesson. True love is neither permissive nor indulgent but firm and full of discernment. It is learning to extend grace without sacrificing your dignity. Loving unconditionally does not mean allowing others to manipulate or mistreat you. It means recognizing that true love seeks the good of others but never at the expense of your own integrity. God calls you to love but also to establish clear boundaries. Just as Jesus loved unconditionally but did not tolerate hypocrisy and injustice, you too are challenged to find the balance between compassion and responsibility. This kind of love does not enable destructive behaviors but instead exposes and challenges them. Wisdom and love arises when you understand that not everyone is ready to receive the kind of love you offer. Some people, like narcissists, may see your kindness as an opportunity to exploit or harm. At this moment, God teaches you to discern. He gives you the gift of knowing when helping someone is an act of compassion and when stepping back is an act of divine protection. It is like watering a plant with the potential to bloom but recognizing that watering stones is a waste of energy. This balance requires practice and constant dependence on God. When you seek His guidance, He enables you to love with a pure heart while also protecting your emotional and spiritual space. It is a delicate dance between offering grace and setting boundaries. Prayer becomes essential in this process, as it is through prayer that you gain clarity to deal with the most challenging situations. God does not expect you to love unconditionally alone. He is by your side, guiding every step and strengthening your wisdom. Loving unconditionally but with wisdom also involves forgiving without allowing abuse to continue. Forgiveness is not an act of weakness but of strength. It frees you from the weight of resentment and the control another person may have over your emotions. However, forgiveness does not mean reopening the door to those who have hurt you. This is where wisdom comes in, loving the person while rejecting the behavior. Praying for the healing of a narcissist while maintaining clear boundaries is a practical example of how to balance love and prudence. Over time, you realize that this balanced love not only protects you but also serves as an example to others. Your ability to love without being exploited inspires those around you. You become a reflection of divine love, firm, just, and unconditional. God uses this transformation in you to touch lives, showing that it is possible to be compassionate without losing yourself in the process. It is a living testimony that true love is not permissive but restorative. In the end, loving with wisdom is one of the greatest fruits of the divine refinement process. It is a love that honors God, protects your essence, and simultaneously extends grace to others. This balance prepares you to live in emotional and spiritual freedom, aligned with the purpose God has placed in your life. Each sign explored throughout this text has been a powerful reminder that your life is not a random succession of events but a divinely orchestrated journey that has led you to this very moment. If this message resonated with you, leave a like and subscribe to the channel right now. Stay strong and allow each challenge to become an opportunity for growth. Do not shy away from difficult experiences but see them as God's invitation to go beyond your own limits. Be an example of someone who found strength in weakness, faith in doubt, and purpose in pain. Trust that as you navigate each phase, you are drawing closer to what God has planned for your life, something greater than you can imagine.